Late one chilly evening, my phone buzzed with a call that instantly set my nerves on edge. It was Max, my friend since childhood, and his voice cracked with panic as he pleaded for me to meet him right away. I barely had time to grab my coat. I called out to Rachel, my wife, telling her I'd be back soon, then hurried out the door. When I found Max, he was outside our old hangout spot, pacing back and forth, a cigarette trembling between his fingers, the glow from the streetlight casting anxious shadows across his face. "I caught her cheating," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, like the words themselves were too painful to say aloud. He was talking about his wife. My gut sank. I'd never seen him so rattled. He looked like a man who had just watched his world collapse. I didn't know what to say. I told him the truth. I'd never been in that position before. "Maybe you need to let her go," I said. "Find someone better. Someone like Rachel." To my surprise, that simple statement seemed to steady him. He stopped pacing. His shoulders dropped. Something about the way I spoke of Rachel reminded him that better things were possible. The next few days passed quickly, and with the long Veterans Day weekend coming up, a group of my buddies planned to get away to a remote cabin. It sounded like exactly the break we all needed: booze, late-night talks, and a steam room to sweat out our worries. I mentioned it to Rachel one night while we were doing dishes. She smiled and encouraged me to go, telling me to enjoy myself. No hesitation, no hidden resentment, just that calm, supportive tone I loved. The next day, Max picked me up, and we hit the store for supplies. We filled the cart with enough snacks, meat, and alcohol to feed a dozen men. That night, we drove up with 3 more lifelong friends, the ones who knew me better than anyone else. The car ride was filled with banter and nostalgia, stories we'd told 100 times but somehow never got tired of repeating. The cabin was perfect, tucked away in the woods with a warm fire, soft lighting, and plenty of space to spread out. As the evening wore on, our laughter got louder and the drinks stronger. Eventually, we all agreed to stay the night. Nobody seemed in a hurry to return home. Odd, I thought. These guys all had wives, too, but none of them looked even slightly guilty. Meanwhile, I found myself missing Rachel more than I expected. There was a dull ache in my chest I hadn't anticipated. Later that night, feeling restless, I stepped outside to call her. She didn't answer. I tried again and again, still nothing. A knot began forming in my stomach. Maybe she was mad that I left. Maybe something was wrong. Eventually, she picked up and explained she'd been cooking and hadn't heard the phone. Her voice was light, cheerful. She asked when I'd be home, and I told her around midnight. "Can't wait," she said. I smiled, reassured. Back inside, I joined the others in the steam room. The heat enveloped us in a thick fog, and our voices echoed off the tiled walls. The conversation took a turn I didn't expect. Talk of testing their wives' loyalty. They laughed as they shared stories of checking phones, setting up fake accounts, or asking mutual friends to flirt just to see what would happen. I shook my head. "I trust Rachel," I said. "She's never given me a reason not to." They looked at me like I was a fool. "You're too soft," one of them said. "You can't trust anyone, not even the one you love." I brushed it off, but their cynicism clung to me like humidity. Something about it ruined the vibe, and suddenly I didn't want to be there anymore. I told them I was heading home. They tried to talk me out of it, but my mind was made up. I had made Rachel a promise, and I wasn't about to break it. On the ride back, their words circled in my mind like vultures. I didn't want to believe it. I refused to let doubt take root, but it had already begun to settle, creeping into places I didn't know existed. When I got home, Rachel greeted me at the door like I was the best part of her day. She threw her arms around me, kissed me, eyes shining with joy. In that moment, I felt like a fool for ever doubting her. That look in her eyes, that joy, it couldn't be faked. We barely made it to the bedroom before we were all over each other. Afterward, she lay curled against me, peaceful and warm, while I stared at the ceiling, thoughts gnawing at me. Then came the moment of weakness. I reached over and picked up her phone. Just one glance, I told myself. She'd never know. I'd be quick. As I scrolled, something caught my eye, an unfamiliar app icon. My breath caught in my throat. I tapped it. A dating app. My stomach turned as I realized she had an active profile under a fake username. Not only that, she had dozens of conversations, vulgar, intimate messages exchanged with multiple strangers. My hands were trembling. This wasn't just a mistake. This was betrayal, repeated, deliberate betrayal. I stumbled out of bed and began hurling her clothes into suitcases, rage boiling beneath my skin. When the bags were packed, I lined them up by the door, then went back and woke her. She stirred, smiled, tried to pull me closer. I pushed her away and held out her phone. The color drained from her face. Then came the lies, weak, ridiculous excuses about her friend using her phone. I'd never seen anyone lie so smoothly. It disgusted me. Just hours earlier, I was thinking about how lucky I was. Now I saw clearly she had been lying to me for years. I yanked the blankets off and marched her toward the door, bags in tow. She sobbed, begged, clutched at my arm, but I was past the point of listening. I shouted, I cried, I collapsed into anger, and then she was gone. The silence that followed was deafening. I sat there on the floor, stunned, feeling like the world had just caved in. But beneath the grief was the bitter truth. My friends had been right. I just hadn't wanted to believe it.